July 16, 1988. The small town of Meridian, Texas, population 1,491, was experiencing one of the hottest summers on record. Reverend Michael Thornton, 42, had been the beloved pastor of the First Baptist Church for nearly a decade. Known for his compassionate counseling and powerful sermons, Thornton was a pillar of the community, a devoted husband to Sarah, and father to teenage children Emma and Jacob. That Saturday evening, Reverend Thornton told his wife he needed to prepare for tomorrow's sermon and drove to the church, as he had countless times before. Security camera footage from the local gas station captured his blue 1985 Ford F-150 passing at 8:47 p.m. It would be the last confirmed sighting of Michael Thornton. When the Reverend hadn't returned by midnight, Sarah called the church. No answer. She then phoned Sheriff Daniel Cooper, who agreed to check on the pastor. Cooper found Thornton's truck in the church parking lot. Engine cold, doors locked. Inside the church, the lights were on in Thornton's office. His sermon notes were spread across the desk, a half-empty cup of coffee beside them. His prized leather-bound Bible, a gift from his father when Thornton was ordained, was missing. The Reverend himself had vanished without explanation. What authorities initially treated as a missing person case took a bizarre turn when Deputy Mark Weaver reported something unusual about the church grounds that night. A circular pattern of flattened grass approximately 30 feet in diameter behind the church. While experts would later dismiss it as wind damage, 3 witnesses from neighboring properties reported seeing unusual lights in the sky above the church between 10:15 and 10:40 p.m. Lights that seemed to hover motionless before suddenly accelerating upward at impossible speeds. The disappearance of Reverend Michael Thornton would baffle law enforcement agencies for years, becoming one of the most perplexing missing persons cases in Texas history. But the true shock would come 12 years later, when a discovery in a wheat field 300 miles away would challenge everything investigators thought they knew about what happened that summer night in Meridian. The morning after Thornton's disappearance, a massive search operation mobilized. Sheriff Cooper coordinated with neighboring counties, bringing in search dogs, helicopters, and dozens of volunteers. The FBI soon joined the investigation, assigning Special Agent Catherine Reeves to the case. Initially, we treated it as a possible kidnapping, Reeves stated in her 1989 field report. The timing, Saturday evening in an empty church, suggested opportunity, but there were troubling inconsistencies from the beginning. No signs of struggle were found in Thornton's office or anywhere in the church. Security system logs showed the front door had been opened at 8:52 p.m., presumably when Thornton entered, and again at 10:38 p.m. No other entries or exits were recorded. The church's rear door, which led to the grounds where the circular pattern was discovered, had remained locked and alarmed throughout the evening. Its security log showed no activity. FBI technicians found no fingerprints except Thornton's own in the office. Outside, despite the dry conditions, no footprints were visible, leading from the church to the circular pattern in the grass. Sheriff Cooper's initial theory, that Thornton had walked out the back door for fresh air and met with foul play, seemed increasingly implausible. Sarah Thornton insisted her husband had no enemies, no extramarital affairs, no financial troubles. Michael was the most transparent person I've ever known, she told investigators. He wouldn't keep secrets from me or from God. The couple's bank records confirmed financial stability. The church board reported the same. The Reverend was beloved, respected, and the congregation was growing under his leadership. For 3 weeks, authorities pursued the theory that Thornton had chosen to disappear. They investigated his credit cards, interviewed distant relatives, and checked transportation hubs. Nothing. His passport remained at home. His credit cards went unused. It was as if Michael Thornton had simply ceased to exist. The only physical evidence that pointed to anything unusual came from soil samples taken from the circular pattern behind the church. Analysis revealed trace elements of cesium and scandium in concentrations significantly higher than the surrounding soil. Dr. Eleanor Matthews, geologist at Texas A&M University, could not explain the anomaly. By September 1988, the investigation had stalled. The Thornton family struggled to maintain normalcy. Sarah continued attending church, sitting in the front pew as visiting pastors delivered sermons where her husband once stood. 16-year-old Emma withdrew into herself, while 14-year-old Jacob became increasingly angry and rebellious. The not knowing is what destroys you. Sarah confessed in a rare interview with the Dallas Morning News. Is he alive? Is he suffering? Did he choose to leave us? Every scenario I imagine is painful, but living with uncertainty is somehow worse than any of them. The FBI pursued numerous leads. A trucker claimed to have given a ride to a man matching Thornton's description near Waco, but security camera footage from a nearby convenience store disproved his account. A convicted felon in Houston claimed knowledge of the disappearance, hoping for a reduced sentence, but his story contained irreconcilable inconsistencies. Meanwhile, stories about the unusual lights seen the night of the disappearance began spreading. The three initial witnesses, Eleanor Grady, a retired schoolteacher, Thomas Weber, a local farmer, and Jason Mendez, a high school student, had all independently reported seeing strange aerial phenomena above the church. Their descriptions were remarkably consistent. 3 amber lights in triangular formation, moving silently, hovering for approximately 25 minutes, before accelerating upward at extraordinary speed. Local UFO enthusiasts began connecting Thornton's disappearance to a pattern of reported sightings across central Texas between 1985 and 1989. The mainstream media largely dismissed these connections, but underground newsletters and early internet message boards kept the theories alive. Sheriff Cooper publicly criticized these unhelpful distractions from the real investigation. One peculiar detail continued to puzzle investigators: Thornton's missing Bible. While everything else, his car keys, wallet, sermon notes, had been left behind, the leather-bound Bible his father had given him was gone. Sarah confirmed it was the only item missing. He treasured that Bible, she said. It had all his notes, his thoughts, passages that had special meaning to him. He wouldn't have left it behind willingly. By early 1989, the active investigation was scaled back. The Thornton case became one of hundreds of unsolved disappearances in FBI records. For the family and the small community of Meridian, life continued under the shadow of an unanswered question. What happened to Reverend Michael Thornton? Before we discover the first major breakthrough in the Thornton case, if you're fascinated by unexplained disappearances and the possibility of otherworldly involvement, subscribe to our channel now. Each week, we investigate cases where conventional explanations fall short, bringing you meticulously researched accounts of the most compelling mysteries. Hit subscribe. You won't want to miss our upcoming investigation into the Desert Point incident where 5 military personnel vanished during a classified exercise in 1992. The Thornton case might have remained just another unsolved disappearance, if not for the persistent efforts of one person, FBI Special Agent Catherine Reeves. Though officially reassigned to other cases, Reeves continued investigating in her spare time, convinced they had missed something crucial. In December 1990, 2 years after Thornton vanished, Reeves made a discovery that would change the trajectory of the investigation. Reviewing weather radar data from the night of the disappearance, she identified an anomalous return over Meridian at precisely 10:37 p.m., 1 minute before the church's front door had registered its second opening. The radar operator at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport had noted the anomaly in his log. Unidentified return, appeared suddenly, no approach vector, stationary for approximately 3 minutes, then vertical ascent exceeding equipment tracking capabilities. The report had been filed but never forwarded to the Thornton investigation team. Reeves brought this information to her supervisor, who reluctantly agreed to reopen certain aspects of the investigation. The radar data corroborated the eyewitness accounts of unusual lights. All 3 witnesses had reported the lights accelerating upward at approximately the same time the radar had lost track of the object. Further investigation revealed something even more significant. 7 other radar installations across Texas had recorded similar anomalies that night. NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command, had logged the events but classified the data. Through persistent efforts and high-level connections, Reeves obtained partial access to these records in early 1991. What she found was astonishing. The anomalous radar returns formed a clear path across Texas, beginning near Meridian at 10:37 p.m. and ending over the Gulf of Mexico at 10:52 p.m., suggesting whatever had been detected was moving at speeds exceeding 3,000 miles per hour. More disturbing still, the object had apparently hovered briefly at 7 distinct locations across its journey. While the FBI officially maintained that these findings were interesting but inconclusive, the investigation now took a new direction. If something had been present above the church that night, something that registered on multiple radar systems and was witnessed by multiple observers. What connection might it have to the Reverend's disappearance? By 1992, the Thornton case had attracted attention from scientists studying atmospheric anomalies and unexplained aerial phenomena. Dr. James Harrington, a physicist from MIT who consulted with various government agencies, reviewed the radar data and eyewitness accounts. What we're seeing here doesn't conform to any known aircraft capabilities of the time, Harrington stated in his confidential report to the FBI. The sudden appearance on radar without approach, the stationary hover, and the instantaneous acceleration to extreme velocities, these characteristics suggest either a massive sensor malfunction across multiple independent systems or something that challenges our current understanding of aerodynamics. Harrington's team conducted a thorough analysis of the soil samples from the circular pattern behind the church. Their findings supported Dr. Matthews' earlier discovery of unusual elements, but added a new detail: microscopic particles of magnetized iron with crystalline structures inconsistent with terrestrial geology. Similar particles had been found at other sites of reported unusual aerial phenomena, though this connection was not widely publicized. Meanwhile, Sarah Thornton and her children continued their difficult journey forward. Emma, now in college, rarely spoke of her father. Jacob, struggling with the absence of his father during his formative teenage years, had encountered trouble with the law, minor offenses that nevertheless concerned Sarah deeply. "We're stuck in a terrible limbo," Sarah confided to Agent Reeves during one of their periodic check-ins. "We can't properly mourn because we don't know if he's dead. We can't move on because there's always that small hope he might return." The investigation took another unexpected turn in April 1993, when a former member of the Meridian First Baptist Church came forward with previously undisclosed information. Howard Delaney, who had moved to Arizona shortly after Thornton's disappearance, claimed the Reverend had been working on a sermon series about cosmic theology in the weeks before he vanished. He was fascinated by the question of whether God's creation might extend beyond Earth, Delaney told investigators. He'd been studying biblical passages that he believed might reference visitations or interventions from the heavens. Some church elders were concerned he was straying into inappropriate territory for a Baptist minister. Church records confirmed that Thornton had ordered several books on astronomy and comparative religion in the months before his disappearance. His sermon notes from that period, preserved by Sarah, contained references to Ezekiel's wheel, the Star of Bethlehem, and various biblical accounts of ascensions into the heavens. Agent Reeves found a particularly highlighted passage in Thornton's study materials. What if the angelic visitations described in Scripture were something else entirely? What if the glory of the Lord that appeared as a great cloud with fire flashing continually was a manifestation of intelligences beyond our comprehension? Thornton had underlined this passage multiple times and written in the margin, "Dangerous ground but compelling questions." The revelation about Thornton's theological explorations before his disappearance added a new dimension to the case. Was there a connection between his intellectual curiosity about extraterrestrial life and what happened that night? Had he somehow anticipated or even initiated the encounter that led to his disappearance? In 1995, Sheriff Cooper retired after 22 years of service. In his final interview with the Meridian Tribune, he expressed his deepest professional regret. "Not solving the Thornton case haunts me. I've gone over it 1,000 times in my head. Something happened in our town that defies conventional explanation. I'm not saying it was anything supernatural or extraterrestrial. I'm just saying we're missing pieces of the puzzle." His successor, Sheriff Melissa Rodriguez, inherited the cold case and brought fresh eyes to the evidence. With Agent Reeves's cooperation, she authorized new interviews with the original witnesses. Eleanor Grady, now in her 70s, stood by her account but added a detail she had previously omitted. "I didn't tell the whole truth back then because I was afraid people would think I was crazy. But right before the lights shot upward, I saw something come down from them. It looked like a beam of light, very thin, focused right on the church." Thomas Weber similarly elaborated on his original statement. "The lights made no sound, but my irrigation equipment failed while they were overhead. Every electronic device, my watch, the electric fence, even my truck, stopped working for about 20 minutes. When everything came back on, the lights were gone." Sheriff Rodriguez also discovered something overlooked in the original investigation. The church's security system had experienced a 3-minute power failure beginning at 10:37 p.m. precisely when the radar had detected the anomalous object overhead. The system's backup battery had maintained the alarm functions, but the electronic door log showed a 3-minute gap. What had happened during those 3 minutes? Another significant development came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a neuropsychiatrist specializing in trauma and memory, had been working with Jacob Thornton, who continued to struggle with his father's disappearance. During therapy, Jacob recalled something from the night his father vanished, a detail he had repressed due to its troubling nature. "I couldn't sleep that night," Jacob told Dr. Chen. "Around 10:30, I looked out my window toward the church, which was visible from our house. The sky above the church, and it was wrong. The stars were blocked out in a perfect circle, like something massive was there, but invisible except for its absence. I thought I was imagining things, so I never told anyone." Dr. Chen, bound by patient confidentiality, encouraged Jacob to share this information with investigators. When he did, Agent Reeves recognized its significance. Jacob's description matched a phenomenon reported in other cases where unusual aerial objects had been observed, what researchers termed negative space displacement, where an object appears as an absence rather than a presence. By 1997, nearly a decade after Thornton's disappearance, the investigation had evolved from a missing person case into something far more complex. While the FBI maintained an official position of skepticism toward extraterrestrial explanations, a small unit within the Bureau had quietly compiled similar cases from across the country. This unit, officially designated as the Unconventional Phenomena Analysis Group, but nicknamed Division Zero by insiders, had identified 27 disappearances between 1973 and 1997 that shared key characteristics with the Thornton case: missing persons who vanished without explanation, anomalous soil or environmental samples at the location, radar-verified unidentified aerial phenomena in proximity, and electrical disturbances. "We're not making claims about alien abduction," explained Dr. Raymond Carlson, the civilian scientific advisor to the group. "We're simply acknowledging patterns of evidence that suggest technological intervention beyond conventional understanding. Whether that technology is extraterrestrial, ultra-secret military, or something else entirely remains an open question." In Meridian, life had gradually returned to something resembling normalcy. The First Baptist Church had a new pastor, Reverend William Gaines, who had carefully avoided any mention of Thornton's interests in cosmic theology. Sarah Thornton had begun working as a counselor for families of missing persons, drawing on her own experiences to help others navigate similar traumas. Emma Thornton graduated from college and pursued a career in astronomy, perhaps influenced by her father's final intellectual interests. Jacob, after some difficult years, had found stability working as a park ranger in Big Bend National Park, a job that kept him largely isolated from society, but seemingly at peace. In November 1998, a new witness emerged whose testimony would reignite public interest in the case. Martin Gleason, a former Air Force radar technician stationed at Dyess Air Force Base near Abilene in 1988, came forward after his service-related non-disclosure agreement expired. "I was on duty the night of July 16, 1988, Gleason stated in a sworn affidavit. "We tracked an anomalous object moving at impossible speeds across central Texas. When I reported it to my superior, he ordered me to delete the data and forget what I'd seen. 2 men in civilian clothes came to the base the next day and confiscated our backup tapes. They informed us the event was a classified weapons test and subject to national security provisions." Gleason's testimony corroborated the radar data Agent Reeves had uncovered, but added a troubling element: apparent government knowledge and suppression of information. When pressed for comment, Air Force officials acknowledged that certain radar data from that period had been classified, but denied any knowledge of unusual aerial phenomena or connection to Thornton's disappearance. The case had reached a frustrating impasse. Multiple lines of evidence pointed to something extraordinary having occurred the night Reverend Thornton vanished, yet definitive proof remained elusive. What happened during those critical 3 minutes when the church's security system experienced a power failure? Where was Michael Thornton? And what had become of his cherished Bible? The answers would remain hidden for another 2 years, when a startling discovery in a wheat field near Lubbock, Texas, would break the case wide open. June 4, 2000. Agricultural pilot Roger Wilkins was conducting a routine crop dusting flight over wheat fields outside Lubbock when he noticed something unusual. A perfect circle of flattened wheat approximately 200 feet in diameter. Thinking it might be evidence of illegal activity, he photographed it and reported the location to local authorities. Deputy Sheriff Vanessa Torres responded to the call and found something extraordinary at the center of the formation. A leather-bound Bible, weathered but intact, lying open on a small pedestal of standing wheat. The Bible's inscription page clearly identified it as belonging to Reverend Michael Thornton. The discovery electrified the investigation. How had Thornton's Bible, missing for 12 years, appeared in the center of a crop formation 300 miles from where he had vanished? Forensic analysis confirmed it was indeed Thornton's Bible, with his distinctive margin notes and underlinings throughout. More puzzling still, while the Bible showed signs of age and exposure to elements, it was remarkably well preserved for something supposedly left outdoors for 12 years. The crop formation itself defied conventional explanation. Plant pathologist Dr. William Monroe from Texas Tech University examined the site and issued a perplexing report. The wheat stalks are bent at the growth nodes rather than broken, indicating they were subjected to rapid heating and pliability. There's no evidence of mechanical flattening. More significantly, the soil samples show the same trace elements, cesium and scandium, found at the Meridian Church site in 1988. When Agent Reeves, now nearing retirement but still obsessed with the case, arrived at the site, she made another startling discovery. The Bible was open to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, which describes the prophet's vision of a wheel within a wheel, and 4 living creatures coming out of a great cloud with flashing fire. The passage was heavily underlined, with a note in Thornton's handwriting that had not been there according to Sarah's recollection. They have shown me the truth. They come as light. Not angels, not demons, something else. Something beyond. Intensive forensic analysis of the Bible yielded more questions than answers. The ink of the mysterious note matched Thornton's other margin writings. Carbon dating suggested the paper and leather had aged approximately 12 years, consistent with the timeline of his disappearance. Most puzzling were the microscopic particles embedded in the leather cover, the same unusual magnetized iron with non-terrestrial crystalline structures found at the church site. The FBI brought in Dr. Sophia Patel, an expert in questioned documents, who made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the investigation team. Using specialized imaging techniques, she found evidence of text that had been written and then made invisible on the Bible's final blank page. When subjected to specific light frequencies, a message appeared. Sarah Emma Jacob, I am not lost, I am found. Forgive my absence. The light offered knowledge beyond imagination. They mean no harm. They have shown me wonders. 12 years for you. For me, mere moments. Watch for my return where it began. July 16, 2000. Michael. The revelation of Thornton's message threw the investigation into turmoil. FBI leadership was reluctant to acknowledge its implications, while Agent Reeves argued forcefully that they needed to prepare for the possibility of Thornton's return on the specified date. Sarah and her children were both hopeful and skeptical. The message seemed to confirm Michael was alive, yet its content strained credulity. Handwriting experts authenticated the message as Thornton's with 99.7% certainty. The ink had been treated with a substance that became transparent when dry, but reacted to specific light frequencies. Technology that existed in 1988 but was primarily used in classified government operations, raising questions about how Thornton had accessed it. As July 16, 2000 approached, exactly 12 years after Thornton's disappearance, media attention intensified. Despite FBI efforts to keep the Bible discovery and message confidential, details leaked to the press. Meridian was soon flooded with journalists, UFO enthusiasts, religious groups, and the merely curious. Sheriff Rodriguez requested state assistance to maintain order as thousands converged on the small town. Sarah Thornton, now 54, agreed to a single CNN interview alongside her children. I don't know what to believe, she said, her voice steady but strained. The Bible is Michael's. The handwriting is his. But the content of the message, it's difficult to reconcile with everything I know about my husband and about reality itself. Yet I can't dismiss it. Not entirely. Emma, now 28 and an astronomer at the McDonald Observatory, spoke with the precision of a scientist. There are phenomena in our universe that we don't yet understand. I've devoted my career to studying the cosmos partly because of what happened to my father. I'm approaching July 16th with cautious openness to possibilities. Jacob, 26, remained more skeptical. I want to believe my father is alive, but I've spent years coming to terms with his absence. This message could be part of whatever took him, attempting to communicate in terms we might accept. I don't know that the person who wrote it is still my father in any meaningful sense. As July 16th dawned, the FBI established a secure perimeter around the First Baptist Church. Agent Reeves, who had postponed her retirement to see the case through, coordinated with multiple agencies including NASA, which had discreetly positioned specialized monitoring equipment around the site. Air Force officials denied any involvement, but were observed maintaining a high alert status at nearby bases. At precisely 8:47 p.m., the time Thornton's truck had been captured on security footage 12 years earlier, instruments around the church registered a spike in electromagnetic readings. Witnesses described a sensation of static electricity in the air. At 10:15 p.m., 3 points of amber light appeared in the sky above the church, forming a triangle exactly as described by the original witnesses. Sheriff Rodriguez, monitoring the situation from the command center established in the town hall, received reports of electrical failures throughout Meridian. Cell phones, cameras, vehicles, everything electronic within a 2-mile radius of the church ceased functioning at 10:37 p.m., the exact time the radar anomaly had been detected in 1988. What happened next would be pieced together from eyewitness accounts, as no electronic recording devices were operational. A brilliant column of light reportedly descended from the triangular formation of amber lights, illuminating the area behind the church where the circular pattern had been found 12 years earlier. The light remained for approximately 3 minutes before retracting upward. When it vanished, the lights accelerated skyward and disappeared, just as they had in 1988. When power was restored at 10:52 p.m., authorities rushed to the site behind the church. There they found a man in his mid-40s, wearing the same clothes Michael Thornton had worn the night he disappeared, lying unconscious in a newly formed circle of flattened grass. The man was immediately transported to a secure medical facility established at Meridian Regional Hospital. Initial identification confirmed what seemed impossible. Fingerprints, dental records, and DNA analysis all identified him as Reverend Michael Thornton, who appeared not to have aged a day since his disappearance 12 years earlier. When he regained consciousness after 18 hours, Thornton recognized his family but appeared disoriented and confused about the passage of time. "It was just moments ago," he repeatedly told doctors. "The light came, and they communicated with me. I agreed to go with them. It feels like I've been gone only hours." Sarah was permitted a brief supervised reunion with her husband. Their privacy was respected, but she later described the encounter as both miraculous and heartbreaking. The man was undoubtedly Michael. He recalled intimate details of their life together, yet he struggled to comprehend that 12 years had passed, that his children were now adults, that the world had moved on without him. Medical examinations revealed other anomalies. Thornton's cellular structure showed none of the expected aging for a man who should now be 54. More puzzling still, his body contained trace amounts of the same unusual elements found in the soil samples from both Meridian and Lubbock. PET scans of his brain showed unprecedented patterns of activity, particularly in regions associated with spatial reasoning and pattern recognition. For 6 weeks, Thornton remained in a secure facility, debriefed by a joint task force of FBI, NASA, and Defense Intelligence officials. The content of these debriefings remains classified, but sources close to the investigation indicated that Thornton provided detailed descriptions of technologies far beyond current human capabilities, along with cosmological information that has since been independently verified by astronomical observations. On August 28, 2000, Reverend Michael Thornton was released into the custody of his family. They relocated to an undisclosed location, supported by a government program typically reserved for protected witnesses. While conspiracy theories abound, the family's privacy has been largely respected by mainstream media. In a brief statement released through their attorney, the Thorntons requested understanding. "We are grateful for Michael's return and for the opportunity to rebuild our family. We understand the public's curiosity, but we ask for privacy as we navigate this unprecedented situation. Michael's experience has profound implications that extend beyond our family, but processing and understanding what happened must begin with healing our relationships first." The Thornton case represents one of the most thoroughly documented encounters with unexplained phenomena in American history. While official government positions remain non-committal, the evidence, radar data, soil samples, multiple credible witnesses, and Thornton's return challenges conventional explanations. If you followed this incredible journey with us, thank you for your attention to this extraordinary case. What do you think really happened to Reverend Thornton during those 12 years? Do you believe his experience suggests contact with non-human intelligence? Leave your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next investigation into unexplained disappearances and their sometimes shocking resolutions.